Namaste, namaste, divine tribe, divine nation. Welcome to my channel. I'm Chi, and this is Divine Vibrations with Chi. Thank you so much for joining me this week. And I have to say, this week is like a do-over. Because we all have do-overs in life, right? Sometimes we have do-overs in life. Sometimes we can have a do-over in life. Sometimes we can't do something over in life. It's just done. But this week, I'm going to have to do over. So as those of you who have joined me before, thank you so much for joining me again. It's a joy to be able to share my journey with you. And those of you who haven't, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and join me every week. We embark on this journey called life. So every week I've been doing the My Soul Challenge. And this week, or rather this last week, I picked these cards out of, here's what it is. It's the My Soul Challenge. And it has these different challenges that you can do. And they're not hard challenges by any means. They're super easy. But they really help you grow as an individual and think outside the box of what you might normally haven't thought of or embarked on or thought to maybe do that would help grow you, right? So different things help grow us in life. And that's why we're here in this journey, is to help us grow as spiritual beings. Because let's just talk about that for a minute. A lot of us are searching, right? We're searching for that sweet spot, is what I call it, in life, like the honeypot, the goodness, the richness. And that doesn't necessarily mean money when I say rich. I mean the quality part of life. And sometimes life, this journey that we've chosen on a different dimension and a different knowing, on an energetic knowing, we chose kind of in a way like Hunger Games, right? We have all these different challenges. We meet different people along the way that, if you really look at it, we're all connected. We're all soulmates. We're all here to teach each other in different ways. And that includes the people that are not so good in your life, as well as the juicy goodness in your life as well. Because without one, you can't appreciate the other. And that's just the way it is, right? So, and I always feel like, when things that are not so desirable is more what I want to say happens in my life, I like to stop and think about why they're happening. Sometimes I can do that in the moment, and sometimes it takes me a little while to process that. And after 2 failed marriages, I think I've really taken that to heart, and really sat there and thought about, when something's happening that's less than desirable for me or towards me or in that moment, is to kind of pause, break, and just kind of take a time out and go, why is this happening? What's the lesson here? What am I supposed to gain from this experience? And sometimes we're able to tune into that, and then also tune into the right vibration on how to address that stimulus and how to grow from it. And sometimes not so much, right? So anyway, this week I've been totally in many ways. I don't have the best relationship with either of my parents. Well, I wouldn't even say that. It's not a bad relationship, but the dynamics of the relationship with my parents is been a challenge for me in my life. And this week I've spent a lot of time thinking about that. And, in a lot of ways, we choose our parents. We choose in a different dimension who's going to come down here and teach us. And our siblings, our inner circle, our friends, our enemies, or perceived enemies, which truly are not enemies. They're just teachers in a different level. We all of these characters in a way are teaching us. And so this week I had some really good interactions with my mom, and then today I did not have a great interaction with my mom. And it kind of stemmed off with something she said the last visit that we had that kind of made me feel some type of way. And then I had to really think about, why I was feeling that way, and why she always posits the same question to me. And it just really makes me feel like this big, right? And then I realized that, you know what? I'm not that big. That's her deal. She has to ask that question because she, to some degree, has to feel some type of power over me. And that's her thing. It's like that parent-child dynamic. And even though I didn't handle it super well today, just reflecting upon that and the purpose of that question. Why did it irk me? Why does it always irk me? Why do I react the way that I do when she asks it, instead of just going, you know what? I'm not going to answer that question anymore. You know what? That's my business. And so there's that dynamic with my mother, who, on many levels, she's a very sweet, kind-hearted lady, but in a lot of ways, she's also materialistic. And for her, what you do for a living, having degrees, status is a really big thing for her. It's she will never say it, but it is. And for example, it's just like when I was doing my master's degree, she was asking me before I was even done when I was going to go for my doctorate. And I think I've mentioned this before. And I was just like, no. After 22 years of being in school as a parent, and a working parent at that, I was done with education, and I wasn't going to go for a doctorate. I don't need a doctorate to feel accomplished in any way. In fact, you don't even need a degree to feel accomplished. What you do need is to find your purpose, right? So that's really what life, this journey, this trip is all about, is finding your purpose. So as part of my purpose, last week's challenge, as I was doing it on the phone, I forgot to click it off a couple times. And so on the challenge, if you don't do it, click that you've done it. Even if you've done it, which was last week, I was supposed to bring plants into my house, and I have tons of plants in my house, and tend them, and maybe start a garden. And I have an herb garden that I love, taking herbs off of and using it in cooking. And I love rotating my plants, and my Christmas cactus was giving flowers this year, which is amazing. I know it just sounds like a little small thing, but those small things make me happy. But anyway, on my phone, I didn't check it off a couple times, and so it didn't like me. It told me that I needed to redo the week. So instead of being a 35-week challenge, it's going to be a 36-week challenge. I guess it was meant to be that way. So anyway, this week I'm going to pick a new card, and I'm going to put last week's card back in there, and I dropped a whole bunch, so I'm going to and um and let's see what it says for this week. So as I was talking about like our purpose, I think what really everybody is looking for isn't necessarily money or fame or having more. I think what people are looking for, and I think this last year has really opened a lot of people's eyes and hearts and spirits, uh, and awoken a lot of people to the fact, whoop, there's the one, um, to the fact that we're all looking for what makes us truly happy, like inside, the inner being, not the outer being. And I myself have been asking myself that question for a long time. What would make me happy? What does make me happy? And it certainly wasn't working in a corporate environment. That wasn't it. And I know that even though I might not totally know what it is that I'm going to do and what I'm here to do, as I'm totally discovering that about myself. What I do know is that it's not being in a corporate environment. I felt very stifled, very kiboshed, very squashed down, and I realized that no, that wasn't for me. So I know that going forward, whatever I decide that I'm going to do, whether it's to continue with my YouTube channel, whether it's to work with Ayurvedic remedies and life coaching, whatever it is that and I'm still working on the complete package of what that is for the future for me. It's going to be me being my own boss and me working for myself and me starting something from the ground level up. And I feel very comfortable in that. And that's also one of the things that really like scares my mother, is for her big thing, and why I actually stayed in the healthcare role that I did. My mom was a nurse, and I actually worked for the company that she retired from because she was so adamant that it was a great company. It's a fantastic company. It's a great company for advancement. It's a great company that appreciates their employees. And she couldn't be further from the truth, because let's be honest, all corporations are, and this is a fact, as I learned in my MBA, they're only concerned about the bottom line. They're only concerned about making their stockholders happy. They don't care about the average employee. And that's where business is today. And that's where a lot of employees are dissatisfied with their work environment and don't feel fulfilled in their roles, whether it is even something amazing as being a doctor and saving lives, or a nutritionist, or even, let's talk about, our essential workers that are out there today. They're amazing, because let's be honest, we wouldn't get our food to our table today in this day and age if it wasn't for those people putting that food out in the grocery stores. And a lot of people would look down on somebody at the grocery store as, oh, well, that's a shitty job. Well, it's not a shitty job, because in a time of crisis, if that person wasn't putting food out and putting themselves at risk and putting food out in the markets for you to purchase, you wouldn't have any. If there wasn't somebody, a dock worker that was unloading those trucks to bring that food, or that farmer who farmed that food, who then packaged that in a food packaging facility and brought it to market for you, you wouldn't survive. because most of us don't have a garden, don't know how to garden, don't know how to produce our own foods. We're completely dependent on this system that we take for granted. And the people in which that whole supply chain, we take them for granted too. And that's what's wrong, I think, with our society. And I think that's what 2020 really is going to shine a light on, with respect to how we treat other people, other soulmates, right? Because we think we tie romantic feelings to the whole title of soulmate. We don't really understand that every single person is a soulmate. And if we were truly honest with ourselves as well as with others, and truly respected other people as loving, caring soul mates, this world would, I think, be just on another level with regard to kindness, love, respect, honor, truth, fairness, compassion. And I think that's where we're heading. That is the awakening. It is not only awakening to your own purpose, but that we are all connected in one purpose, that we are all here to help each other grow, and equanimity is the key to that understanding, is being equal, understanding that all things are created equal, not just that little spider is a bug to squash. And I'm terrified of spiders. And lately I've been like grabbing the little buggers and putting them outside and like wishing them well. And I've really tried to change my eating habits to where I'm not eating meat anymore. I eat fish still, but only like once in a while. And I really try to turn vegetarian, in an effort to like respect the animals that are on this earth, and also to reduce my footprint of need on this planet, right? Because every cow adds to the methane in the air, the pollution, what have you. So understanding our own roles, understanding our own journeys, understanding what we can do as people and spirits, and then making efforts to grow into that is part of our life journey and our purpose. And I think it leads us to our ultimate purpose, which is what we actually came here to do, because there's more than one level. There's more than one thing that we're learning here on this earth. You don't just learn one thing and then you're like, I'm dead. I'm done. I've learned it all. I learned the one thing I came here for. That's just not true, right? We have multiple levels, and if you want to look at it like a video game, you're just like, once you beat the boss on level 1, you have to go to level 2, and then you struggle through level 2, and then you beat the boss in level 2, and then you go to level 3, and then and life is kind of like that. And the more you grow, and the more you're willing to be open to growth and finding your purpose, letting go of all of the material in this world, and just letting the universe guide you, I think you move through those levels and you learn a lot faster. And I just really have contemplated that this week, especially with the turmoil that I've experienced and challenges I've experienced with my mom. And I love my mom. Don't get me wrong. I love my mom. And I know that I chose my mom to be my mom. I know that there are challenges that she is helping me grow with and from by being my mom, and vice versa, you know? Uh, and whether she wants to be open to the things that I can teach her with equanimity, and that's the thing, again, equanimity. We as parents think that our kids should be seen, not heard. We think of them as lesser beings, or at least in my culture, it seems like kids are lesser beings than their elders. And because you're an elder, you're wiser. Not true. Not true, right? Because there are some young souls or young people that are old souls that come into this world super wise and super keen on so many things that they can teach us. And one of them is Greta Thunberg. I just love that kid because, you know, she has Asperger's and she's still out there just fighting for the right for the environment to survive. And it is true. We don't inherit the earth from our ancestors. We're borrowing it from our children. And how we leave this earth for our children has a lot to say with who we are as individuals. And one thing my mom did teach me was leave something better than you found it. So are we doing that? No, I don't think so. We have a long ways to go. And I'm hoping that as we round out this year and we're going into the next year, so this year was a 4-year, 2020 is the number 4, which is about foundations. So I really feel like humanity hit a brick wall with this whole virus and with the way things were. And it's funny, you know, people always say hindsight is 2020. Well, the hindsight is there if you're willing to look for it, right? Are we as a human race, as a collective, being constructive or destructive? Have we been? And are we going to continue to be? What is it that we are going to be? I hope that we learn from this whole situation. I hope that we've learned how to be more unified rather than divisive. And it's going to take some time because our human race has been directed by very much yang or yang, the yin and the young energy, right? And young energy is masculine. It's about war and it's about fighting and it's about money and power. Whereas yin energy is about compassion and kindness and nurturing and more love and feelings. And I think humanity, in a way, is this teenager that's going through all of these mixed feelings and is trying very hard to make sense of its purpose as a whole and not destroy themselves. Because let's be honest, teenagers can do that too, right? They're kind of self-destructive and because of their wanting for knowledge and their lack of experience in using that knowledge, right? So humanity is much that way. And as a whole, as a being, as an existence, I think. And we're kind of cruel, like teenagers are, I think. Or mean. We're always pinning one against the other. It's a popularity contest. It's who's ever's the prom king and the prom queen. Who the cares, right? I don't. I'm just here for my purpose. I'm here to do my thing and get to the next level. So let's level up. So So this week's card is no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. Oh, that's true. And that's by Aesop. I love Aesop fables. And let's see. That's kind of actually a good card for this week because this week is about kindness, right? And uh, one of the greatest ascended masters of all time, even though, let's see, can I get it to go? Even though religion is one of those things that divides us, it doesn't necessarily need to divide us. But it divides us because we're very decadent people. We think that we have this need to be right, to be popular. And in a way, I grew up Catholic. So that's kind of a weird thing. I was an Indian Catholic. And my first husband was Mormon, and I actually did convert and practice as an LDS member for like 8 years. And both are Christian sects of Christianity, yet they aren't always kind to each other or recognize each other, and they scrutinize each other. And then on top of that, Christianity scrutinizes other religions and kind of sets itself apart, right? Like Christians believe that through Christ only can you go to heaven. Well, then that leaves the question of what about all these other people? What about all the other souls in the world? They're all doomed to hell? I kind of don't feel like, the universe works that way. And I think that's where the unification comes in, the respect for another human being's ability to practice their faith, but also for us to allow someone to practice that way without scrutinizing them and saying, or setting ourselves apart or putting ourselves into another echelon, right? Like you put yourself on a pedestal like teenagers do, you're in the cool group. You're Christian, so you're in a cool group. But if you're Buddhist, you're over here. And if you're Hindu, you're over there. And if you're an atheist, you're back there. And I think that's the problem. And that's why we're so divisive. And that's why when you talk about the story of the Tower of Babel and how everybody is talking a different language, we're all talking English. We all understand the language of the universe, but we're all talking about different ways to get there and our beliefs, and then we're fighting about it, right? On who's right. No one is right, but no one is wrong either. The whole idea is to practice compassion and loving kindness and equanimity, and understanding that each of us have our own individual path, and your path is not wrong as long as I believe that you are trying to do good. Now, if you're out there hurting people, then you might want to consider whether you're even on the right path. So I think minus the whole hurting people, I think most people are on the right path and searching for their purpose through some kind of faith. So it says this week, practice kindness with people you care about. Doing something special for someone you care about for no special reason can be the greatest way to show your love for them, especially when it comes from the heart. There is no need for a special occasion to be extra kind with people you care about. For this challenge, do something special for someone you care about every day. Give someone a compliment. That's one way you can do it. So, you don't even have to buy something. And showing someone that you care doesn't necessarily mean that you need to purchase jewelry, or shower them with gifts. Sometimes just your presence is all that's needed. A phone call to say you care, um, a thoughtful card in the mail that says, I was thinking about you. Um, you can give them a gift that maybe reminded you of them. One of the things I did today was I sent, with my mom, a box of cookies to my dad. She was going over to my sister's house, and I sent over some cookies. And some of the cookies that we made were traditional cookies that we grew up with and that my dad knew about as we grew up and as part of his memory. And sending him those. And he called me to let me know that he was enjoying those cookies. And that made me so happy to know that just that little thing made him happy. Prepare a meal or a treat for someone you care about. Pay someone a surprise visit. Now that can be kind of hard in the environment that we're in today. But maybe it's somebody you're very close to in your inner circle that you have interacted with. And as long as you're being safe, I'm sure that would be okay. And then any other act of kindness. So showing somebody that you care about them and that you really truly appreciate their presence and their beingness is super important. It is the purpose of life. It's not about fame and fortune. And if it is your fate and destiny to have fame and fortune, then you will. What's meant to be yours will always be yours, and the universe will always provide it. And if you know that and you go through life knowing that, but living your life in a purposeful way, in a kind, loving, caring, compassionate way, I feel like it actually empowers us. It leads us to our ultimate purpose and our ultimate happiness. And what more could you want? That's the juicy. That's the juicy in life. So I'm going to pick an affirmation out of the affirmation toolkit. I just love this bag. It just makes me so happy with all the colors. It's one of my favorite things. My little fishing bag. Let's see. It says, I attract a level of abundance in alignment with my self-worth and reflective of my generous nature. That kind of goes with this week's doing some small act of kindness. Again, it says, I attract a level of abundance in alignment with my self-worth and reflective of my generous nature. Yeah, that's a good affirmation. So I really, truly believe we're all really generous beings. And I know that in a time of lack or perceived lack, where we feel like resources are not readily available, that's really actually just the curtain, draw back the curtain and look at how abundant one's life truly is. There are so many people in this world that have so much less than we do. Every day I look at my life and I think about that. And I come from a third world country, and it reminds me every day when in my memory, it's burned in my memory from childhood. And I don't think it's ever going to go away. But just people sleeping on the street with nothing, just their arm and a sack with what is their belongings. People begging for food. Literally, I remember as a child, beggars actually coming door to door asking for what was left over of that night's meal so that they could eat. And people living in straw huts and uh, walking barefoot. And I'm a shoe girl. And every time I open my shoe closet and I look at, my 20 pairs of shoes, and I'm thinking, 20 different people could be walking around with shoes on. I am abundant. And I, because of my abundance, should be generous and caring. And so when asked to give, I'm happy to give. And we should all try to give. If this world was full of givers and nobody was worrying about who was taking, everybody would be receiving. Everybody. But so many people give for the purpose of being noticed. So many people give because out of a sense of ego. So many people give for the tax benefit. So many people give because they want to, for whatever reason, be noticed by others, or it benefits them in some way, either in a group. Usually it's because of fame or tax benefits, but giving out of the kindness of your heart really does actually end up giving you more. And I believe in the more is more theory. The more you give, the more you receive. The more you give, the more others receive. And I don't remember what is that movie? Oh, I think it's called Pay It Forward. It was one of my favorite movies. And it was actually kind of a bittersweet ending, right? But this kid wanted to find a way to pay it forward to where other people, you did an act of kindness for somebody, and that person does an act of kindness for somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. And it just keeps going and it keeps going. And in the end, that would grow into a world where we are all giving. And in a lot of ways, we're all receiving. But a lot of people count what they're receiving. And they want to know, well, where's mine? I gave, and how come I didn't get? Well, that's not how the universe works. You got to just give for the sake of giving and not worry about what you're getting. Because in actuality, you've already got. So I really like this week's challenge. Again, it's no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted, by Aesop. Our daily affirmation is, I attract a level of abundance in alignment with my self-worth and reflective of my generous nature. And I want to thank you very much for joining me this week as we discussed a little bit of how we kind of can grow into our purpose and live a purposeful life and discover our purpose and what that journey might look like for each of us. If you have any comments or questions, or you just want to shout out, please feel free to put anything in the, what do they call that? The conversation comments section. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And thank you again so much for joining me. I'm Chi. This is Divine Vibrations with Chi. And I hope that as you embark on this week, by one of the greatest teachings of one of the best ascended masters I know, in Jesus, and that we should all give to our brothers and sisters without asking for anything in return other than to just give out of loving kindness. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas.